Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Parker. I head up the Media Relations Division for the Prince George's County Police. Today we are here to discuss the unusual and the complex circumstances that began with an anonymous call on Thursday alerting our department to a body in a well on Old Fort Road. That began a 3-day recovery operation. It quickly became apparent that members of the media had an intense interest in this story, and we did our best to provide reporters constant updates via Twitter and to also allow them access near the crime scene, yet without compromising this investigation. We will be limited in what we can say today because this is an active homicide investigation. We know you understand that, and we do appreciate your patience. We're going to begin with Deputy Chief Hank Stawinski. He runs the Forensic Science and Intelligence Bureau, and that bureau was the lead in this recovery operation. Then we'll hear from Prince George's County Police Chief Mark McGall and Alexandria Police Chief Earl Cook. Lastly, your questions. Right now, we begin with Deputy Chief Hank Stawinski.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to begin by saying that while the Bureau of Forensic Science and Intelligence took the lead on the recovery operation, this simply wouldn't have been possible without the cooperation of a great many entities, some of them in county government, some of them in private industry. I'm going to touch on those as I describe the events as they unfolded. On Thursday afternoon, we received information that our patrol officers from District 4 had confirmed what they believed to be the presence of human remains on the property located at 11901 Old Fort Road. Subsequently, myself and members of the evidence unit, as well as the Prince George's County Fire Department, arrived on scene. We found there are homicide investigators and members of the Alexandria Police Department. From the very beginning, we presented all sides of this equation to one another. We all maintained a constant flow of information to ensure that all of the needs were met. And after about an hour and a half, thanks to Paul Gomez, a fire investigator with the fire department, we were able to confirm the presence of human remains at that location. A number of questions were immediately brought forth regarding a recovery operation. Once we confirmed those remains, we took steps to secure what became 3 perimeters: an outer perimeter maintained by our District 4 officers, an inner perimeter maintained by our Criminal Investigations Division homicide section, and then finally a 3rd perimeter once we had confirmed that the remains were present, maintained by the evidence section. As we proceeded, we brought in some technical assistance from Dr. William Vosberg of the Metropolitan Police Department to assist us in understanding the implications of the recovery operation on the forensic analysis of any evidence that we located throughout this procedure. Dr. Vosberg was incredibly helpful to us, and we appreciate his assistance. In addition, Battalion Chief Steve White of the Fire Department was able to provide us with some unique technical support in the way of collapse bags, which, as I will explain, the well was not mortared. It was merely stacked brick. Immediately, our concern was that as excavation proceeded, collapse could be a factor, and the collapse bags that Battalion Chief White was able to provide us prevented A, collapse, and B, contamination of the crime scene. Some of the priorities that were then identified for the following morning, and I appreciate the assistance of our Bureau of Administration under Deputy Chief Whittington, providing us the academy class. Our academy class searched every square inch of the property and each of the 3 perimeters looking for additional evidence. The homicide section executed a search warrant on the residence located at that address. And then finally, technical assistance was provided to us by the county's Department of Public Works and Transportation in the form of structural engineers, as well as members of our health department, and again, the Prince George's County Fire Department, who were able to help us evaluate the well and the various methods of excavation that could be used to recover the human remains. At this point, it was determined that we were going to need private industry's help, and we were going to need an excavation company that could do the kind of work that you would see associated with the repair of water mains with the WSSC or with deep repairs such as you might see with the Metro system. We were very fortunate to have one contractor identified through DPWT who subsequently received the contract, Dirt Plus, and they were able to bring equipment to the scene that very evening so that we could begin excavation the following morning on Saturday. We had closed Old Fort Road as a result of this crime scene, and one of our concerns was to restore traffic on that road and open that back up to the community. That wasn't the most pressing concern, but it certainly was something we were cognizant of. So moving to Saturday morning, Dirt Plus had already placed all of their equipment on the scene, and we began excavation. It moved steadily forward, and we were able to reach the remains at 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Once we had done so, we had learned that complicating factors due to the structure of the well necessitated that our evidence technicians be placed in environment suits that would protect them from any sort of contamination. We did that, and again, the fire department, a tremendous partner in all of this, immediately set up a decontamination site for us. So again, we appreciate that, looking out for the safety of our workers and those of our contractors. By 5 o'clock, we had recovered the body. We had done the initial processing on the scene, and we had transported those remains to the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner in Baltimore. Following that, we were able to close the excavation, mitigate it for any environmental impact, and again, our health department partner was a big assistant in that. And then finally, we were able to end operations on the scene in 53 hours. So again, those were the principal contributors to this effort. They provided us tremendous technical expertise. There was at no point anyone who said, can't be there now. Everyone was made immediately available. We appreciate that. And at this point, that concludes my portion. I'm going to turn it over to Chief of Police Mark McGaw. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. And as you've heard from Deputy Chief Stawinski, this was a very unique crime scene. Prince George's County Police Department approached this situation with determination and resolve. Our sole purpose was to preserve any evidence at the scene that may assist us in identifying the individual or individuals that committed this crime. Our concern was with the decedent, his family, and our community, and that's what drove us for almost 3 straight days. This operation would not have been as successful as it was, like Deputy Chief Stawinski spoke about, without our other allied agencies within Prince George's County. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge our evidence unit that was relentless in their effort at this crime scene. The fire department, health department, engineers from Public Works, along with outside resources, one of which was Dr. Vosberg, who was consulting with us, was very, very important, and a private contractor that we brought in to excavate the site. We've been working together with the Alexandria Police Department since last September, and they've been with us every step of the way since last Thursday. I'd like to thank Chief Cook for being here today, and I'm confident that this collaborative partnership will bring this case to a final resolution. Thank you. And I'd like to bring up Chief Cook.
Good morning, everyone. I would first like to thank Prince George's County Chief Mark McGraw for having Alexandria part of the press conference this morning. And I would like to begin by extending my condolences and wishes of comfort to the family of the Harris family. They are a family that is native to Alexandria and well known in our community. So I hope that as we begin this phase of the investigation, they'll take some comfort that we have indeed found Mr. Harris, and we'll be moving forward from there. Our involvement in this case began on September 22nd when Mr. Harris was reported missing, as you know. He was last seen about 9 p.m. on September 21st at the Charles Houston Recreation Center in Alexandria. The day he was reported missing, he apparently failed to show up for a presentation he was doing at the Alexandria Adult Detention Center, and his cell phone was found on the Wilson Bridge. For early moments of this investigation, our detectives have spared no resources to find out what was occurring and where Mr. Harris might be located. Now that he has been found here in Prince William County, obviously we've moved from a missing person investigation into a homicide investigations. Our detectives obviously will now work jointly and have been working jointly with the Prince George's County Department Our goals of sharing sensitive information and trying to determine timelines and investigative aspects of this case will continue until we reach a conclusion and hopefully successful prosecution of this case. Mr. Harris's disappearance actually greatly affected Alexandria. He was an integral part of the city. He was an activist who worked for many disadvantaged and minority people in the city for many years, for over 2 decades. He has established himself well in the community and was well liked in our community. Just to remind everyone, as we began this investigation, we did establish a reward fund by private donors, and we continue in that effort with the Virginia Commerce Branch in Virginia, and citizens can continue to contribute and be aware that there is a reward out. And I'm sure Prince George's County, you'll be hearing further from their Crime Solvers Department that will also be assisting with that effort. We ask anyone that might have any information about this disappearance and death of Mr. Harris to please continue to come forward and provide any information they may have. And as we develop leads and diligently, hopefully, we'll have this case resolved with an arrest. Until that happens, I promise you that we'll have all of our resources joined with Prince George's County so that we will have a successful conclusion to this case. I thank you very much for having me here today.
We'll open it up now to any questions for any of our speakers. Darcy?
The autopsy was done yesterday. What can you tell us about the cause and manner of death, and if the autopsy was able to determine how long he may have been in the well, the body?
Chief?
And we need to be somewhat brief with some of these answers just because it's an ongoing homicide investigation. But the cause of death was a gunshot, and the extent of time in the well is an extended period of time. They couldn't give us exact dates, but it was an extended period of time.
So reason to believe that this happened soon after his disappearance?
Yes, ma'am.
Chief, can you tell us a little bit about who the caller may have been? Was this a caller who said, I just saw someone in there, or if you go there, you're going to find something?
If you go there, you're going to find something. And we're still working on identifying that individual, and I'd ask the community with any information on this case, please to call Crime Solvers, and we'll follow up with them.
What's that tell you about that caller? What do you think this was? What happened?
Well, I don't know if we can draw anything from it right now, but we're looking at every aspect of this issue and this crime, beginning with the caller, back to September, the initial incident in Alexandria, and we're working through all of it steadily with Alexandria Police Department so we don't miss anything.
Can you tell us how close you might be, what kind of leads you're following? You have good leads. Which way are you going as you
Right.
see the suspect here?
And again, this is a brand new homicide investigation. I don't want to go into too many issues about evidence or any particulars of the case, but we do have leads.
That caller is someone who knew something. I mean, do you want to appeal to that person if they're having some sort of crisis of conscience here? Is that what?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, to call us. We'll sit down and discuss the issues with them and get the information they have from them and help this family have some peace in reference to this crime.
Is this like a Crime Solvers call, or?
It was directly sent into public safety communications,
So you
911
literally have
operator.
no idea who this person is? You're not just not saying you don't know?
We're still working through those leads and trying to track this person down. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that's what it was? Do you think someone is having some conscience problems here?
That's a possibility.
Do you have any even preliminary idea of who might have killed this person, and why don't they release surveillance photos of the using the victim without us suggesting it was Rob?
Right. I'm not at liberty right this minute to go into any details in reference to this case, but again, this case started back in September, and we're working jointly with Alexandria Police Department, taking their leads from their case and working up through what we have right now. So it's one case, and I think that's the big piece here is 2 agencies working together. All of our resources from both agencies are committed to solving this crime, and I believe we will.
Chief, can you, my understanding was that, and I'm kind of coming in a little bit cold to this myself, he was at some kind of meeting, and maybe this is better for Chief.
Yeah.
He was at some kind of meeting, received some kind of phone call, blanched, and got up and left in a hurry. Can you describe the last time anybody saw him and what went on?
Okay, up to the point that we had him disappearing, he seemed to be going about a normal routine. We had no immediate evidence that he was in any threat situation or in any danger. So the last moment that we knew and had him that he was alive, we had no indication that anything horrible was about to happen.
Chief, I gather you knew him personally?
I did.
Can you tell us about him as the command you know?
Mr. Harris was very committed, as I said earlier, to helping the community. He had a varied lifestyle, but mostly he was a local businessman at times. He worked himself. He started his own nonprofit. He did put on a lot of events. There were public events in the city to raise money for different minority groups. And as I said, was a native Alexandrian in terms of what he gave to the community. So he was well known. It created a lot of distress when he was missing for exactly the reason I said previously on the other question. We had no indication that there was any foul play at the outset of this missing person.
Chief McGall, are you, obviously there's a lot of evidence in this case. His car was stolen, you were able to retrieve that. Also, the use of his credit card, there's a surveillance shot of an individual using that. Can you confirm or deny whether you have made any arrests in connection with any of those other bits and pieces of this case? Not necessarily on a homicide, but do you have people who may have committed some of these other crimes connected to the case?
All of that part of your question deals with all of the circumstances in the investigation itself. As I said, we have not made any arrest of anybody associated with those earlier things we put out to the media. I will say, though, that all of those issues are part and parcel now of a homicide investigation. So as we segued from the missing person and worked with PG County early on, as Chief McGall said, these now are all part of the total picture and complexity of a homicide investigation.
Not arrested in Alexandria or Prince George's?
No.
Okay. Is there any indication that more than one person was involved?
We do not know that as yet. That's undetermined.
Deputy Chief Politsky, could you give us a shorter kind of synopsis of how hard this was? And did you have to excavate all around the well? And I'm getting a hard time getting a picture of exactly how you got all the way down there. What was it, like 20-something feet?
Initially, and again, this was a effort on the part of our evidence team and the fire department team. We determined initially it was about 23 feet from the top of that well down to the location where the remains were found. Initially, we had thought that we could just drive a trench from there away from the well, but we learned quickly, thanks to the assistance of the DPWT personnel, Department of Public Works Transportation, that that might not be the safest route. Primary concern was the safety of all of our resources and of the community when you talk about mitigating the fallout of removing this well. So the excavation essentially was on all sides of that well out to a distance of about 20 feet. And the entirety of that hole at the end of it was about 25 feet down. So when you're standing on the edge of that pit, you're looking down about a two-story building. And then a ramp was the method of access. And again, I want to commend the gentleman from Dirt Plus. The driver is here with us today. If you could just stand up for a second. This young man did a tremendous job moving a huge piece of equipment around a stacked brick well and didn't move a single brick. I also want to say thank you to the evidence team. With us today is Major Liberati. In addition, Captain Lynn, Lieutenant Hines, Mr. Green, and the technicians who were actually down there was Amanda Tayag, Kelsey Miller, Tracy Scott. I also want to thank Major Harper and Major Rodriguez and Captain Hoffman. They were tremendous help. But this was very technically complex. Once we moved all that earth out, we put 2 trench boxes on top of one another to protect from collapse, and then a third smaller trench box to protect the method of ingress and egress. And again, it was one of those rapidly developing situations. We moved a lot faster than we thought we could. And the fire department, again, the fire chief is here with us, thank you. We were able to set up that decontamination site in the course of about 2 hours. So a very complex site, but we rose to the occasion, and again, that was a result of a team effort. And our thanks to everyone who participated in that.
In terms of the evidence recovery, are you able to say if the actual homicide weapon was found and whether, apparently Lenny Harris had 2 cell phones. One was recovered on the Wilson Bridge. There was a second cell phone. Was that recovered?
Again, this is an ongoing homicide investigation, so some of your questions are very detailed and we can't get into them at this point. We will continue to keep you as updated as we have as this investigation continues. We're well aware of your interest and we appreciate your sharing the news with your readers and your viewers and your listeners. I just want to expand upon one point that Chief Cook made, and that is between the reward fund created in Alexandria and the one that we have with Prince George's County Crime Solvers, we're at approximately up to $38,000 for information leading to an arrest and conviction in this case. So we would appreciate it if you could share that with everyone so that we might get some more leads on this case. Thank you for attending today. I appreciate it.